What evidence is there that Jesus actually rose from the dead? This question digs deep into the very foundation of Christianity. You see, the resurrection of Jesus Christ isn't just a side note. It's the cornerstone of the Christian faith. If Christ did not rise from the dead, then Christianity would crumble like a house of cards. But this isn't a question of science, it's a question of history. The Old Testament, written centuries before the birth of Christ, is filled with prophecies and foreshadowings of this monumental event. From the sacrifice of Abraham's son Isaac to the story of Jonah in the belly of the whale, the resurrection was hinted at, predicted, and anticipated. Jesus himself, during his earthly ministry, predicted his resurrection multiple times. He spoke openly to his disciples about his impending death and his resurrection. He wasn't vague or cryptic about it, but clear and direct. And the New Testament is filled with confident declarations of Christ's resurrection. The apostles, the early Christians, they all believed and proclaimed this truth. And that's where we'll pick up in the next scene. There are 4 possible explanations for the absence of Jesus' body. That's right, 4 theories have been proposed to explain this intriguing mystery. Let's start with the first. Jesus' body is still buried near Jerusalem. This theory suggests that the body has remained undiscovered all these years. It proposes that despite the searches and excavations, we've simply missed it. Then we have the second theory. The enemies of Christianity stole the body. According to this idea, those who opposed the new faith seized the opportunity to fuel doubt and confusion among the followers of Jesus. By removing the body, they could deny any claims of resurrection. Next, we move to the third explanation. The disciples stole the body and fabricated the resurrection story. This theory implies a grand conspiracy by the disciples. They are seen as masterminding an elaborate hoax to fulfill the prophecies Jesus had spoken about his resurrection. Finally, we reach the fourth explanation, and perhaps the most profound of all. Jesus actually rose from the dead. This is not just a theory, but the core belief of Christianity. It proclaims that 3 days after his crucifixion, Jesus conquered death, fulfilling the prophecies and establishing the foundation of the Christian faith. Each of these theories presents a different perspective on the disappearance of Jesus' body. Some propose deceit and conspiracy, others suggest an undiscovered tomb, but it's the last one that holds the most weight for billions of believers worldwide. The evidence points to the last option. The resurrection of Jesus Christ is not just a story, but an event rooted in historical accounts and testimonies. It's a belief held close to the hearts of Christians all over the globe, a testament to their faith in the miraculous and divine. Luke, a physician and historian, investigated the matter. Now, Luke wasn't just an ordinary man of his time. He was a physician, a man of science, and a historian, a man who understood the importance of factual accuracy. His approach to the question of Jesus' resurrection was, therefore, both methodical and rational. Luke's role as a physician meant he had a deep understanding of the human body. He knew what it was capable of, and more importantly, what it wasn't. The concept of someone returning from the dead would have been as fantastical to him as it is to us today, yet he found himself faced with the task of investigating the claims of Jesus' resurrection, a phenomenon that challenged his scientific knowledge. As a historian, Luke was keenly aware of the need for reliable sources. He couldn't just take someone's word for it. He needed proof, and so he sought out the most credible sources he could find. He interviewed those who claimed to have seen Jesus after his death, carefully documenting their accounts. In his investigation, Luke recorded multiple post-resurrection appearances of Jesus. These weren't vague second-hand accounts. These were detailed, first-hand experiences. From Mary Magdalene to a group of women disciples, from Peter to 2 disciples on the road to Emmaus, from 10 apostles to 11 apostles, including Thomas, and from 7 disciples by the Sea of Tiberias to more than 500 brethren and James. Luke didn't leave any stone unturned. These accounts provided Luke with the evidence he needed to confirm the resurrection. As both a physician and a historian, he could have easily dismissed the resurrection as an impossibility. But the evidence was too strong, too compelling to ignore. He approached the matter with a skeptic's eye, but left with a believer's heart. Luke's investigation wasn't just thorough, it was transformative. It changed his understanding of what was possible, and it provides us with some of the most compelling evidence of the resurrection. After all, it takes a lot to convince a man of science and history that someone could rise from the dead. And yet, that's exactly what happened. Luke's investigation provides compelling evidence of the resurrection. These appearances were witnessed by various individuals and groups. Let's start with Mary Magdalene, a woman of significant standing in biblical narratives. After the crucifixion, she encountered what she initially thought was a gardener, but who turned out to be Jesus himself post-resurrection. In addition, a group of women disciples also testified to seeing Jesus alive after his death. These were women who had followed him, supported his ministry, and now were among the first to witness his victory over death. Then there was Peter, the rock. He had denied knowing Jesus during the crucifixion, yet he was among the first to see him after the resurrection, a testament to the forgiveness and grace that define the Christian faith. Two disciples traveling on the road to Emmaus also had an encounter with the risen Christ. In their grief and confusion, they didn't recognize him at first. But when he broke bread with them, their eyes were opened. 10 of the apostles saw Jesus together in a locked room where they had gathered in fear. Jesus came and stood among them, offering peace and showing them his wounds as proof of his identity. Later, all 11 apostles, including Thomas, who initially doubted the resurrection, saw Jesus. Thomas touched the wounds of Christ and proclaimed him as my Lord and my God. 7 disciples by the Sea of Tiberias encountered Jesus while they were fishing. He gave them a miraculous catch and then shared a meal with them, demonstrating his physical reality. At one point, more than 500 brethren witnessed the risen Christ. This mass sighting is significant, as it goes beyond a handful of isolated encounters. Finally, there's James, the brother of Jesus. Initially skeptical about his brother's ministry, James became a believer after witnessing the resurrected Christ. These eyewitness accounts add further support to the evidence of the resurrection. So, what evidence is there that Jesus actually rose from the dead? Let's recap what we've covered. The foundation of Christianity hinges on the resurrection of Jesus. His missing body, a mystery that has intrigued many, leads us to consider 4 possibilities. The meticulous investigation by Luke, a physician and historian, provides compelling evidence of multiple post-resurrection appearances. Furthermore, these occurrences were witnessed by a diverse group of individuals and groups, reinforcing their credibility. The historical evidence, the investigation by Luke, and the eyewitness accounts all point to the conclusion that Jesus rose from the dead.